Okay, welcome. It's been a few weeks, I think. When was the last time you posted the video, Ethan?
January.
January? Yeah, it's been a few weeks, but we're back. I don't know what episode we're on, but welcome to Two Monkeys on a Microphone. Today we have a very special guest, Chelsea from Australia. I believe Chelsea met Ethan in Vietnam, and ever since they've been friends. So Ethan has brought her on. Do you want to say hi, Chelsea?
Hello.
Can I ask you just a bit about yourself so that the viewers kind of know who you are as a person?
Of course.
Um, so you're from where in Australia?
So I'm from Brisbane. It's on the east coast, like the middle of the east coast. And it's really nice. It's not as big. So Sydney is obviously the biggest city, and then Melbourne, and then Brisbane. So it's kind of like a bit more chill, a bit more laid back. Still pretty busy. There's still heaps of stuff going on. And I recently moved to about an hour north of Brisbane. So I now live at the Sunshine Coast. So it's like on the beach, really nice. Yeah, and my parents still live in Brisbane, which I'm at my parents' house right now. So
Oh
Wow,
yeah, yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Like I can see the background, and I know it's not your place. Definitely not. um,
That's pretty cool.
I've seen my house. I was like, how do you...
so why don't you tell us about the thing that you do? Because I know what you do, but I don't think Jacques knows. And it's one of the things that you care a lot. And I think your job is really important. So if you could, do you want to share about it a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Well, I do support work. So basically working with clients with disability. It has exploded really as a job in Australia because they brought in, I don't know that much about it, but they brought in like a government insurance scheme, and it's called NDIS. And so there became a lot more national funding for people with disabilities. So then they needed more support workers as well. So I've been doing it for 3 years, and yeah, it's amazing. I think the main thing is that it gives me more perspective, and I enjoy having new perspectives to reflect on my life. So I think that's something, for example, that I really, I don't know, enjoy, like talking to people to find out new perspectives, or like traveling and stuff like that, which is...
May I ask, what kind of disabilities do you often work with? Because I've worked with people of disability too, and I worked with people who were used kind of electric wheelchairs, and I noticed while working with them that there's a lot of things that you don't notice. Like I was working kind of on the university campus, and going like up the elevator was quite a difficult task because the elevators were very narrow, the doors were very narrow, and their wheelchairs couldn't fit through. So it was actually quite a scary experience, kind of just going around the university.
Yeah, which makes it, because a lot of the time the elevators are there for people with disabilities, right? So if someone in a wheelchair can't actually fit into it properly, it's like,
counterproductive.
Yeah. I mean, so I have worked with my first client that I had about 3 years ago. She's in a wheelchair. She was born with like a malformed nerve in her spine, and then I don't know the full story, but anyway, that must have at some point caused a stroke, so brain damage, and from that, yeah, she had difficulty walking and stuff like that. So that was my first client. I worked with her for a couple of years, and then when I moved up to the coast, I've had different clients with like intellectual disability, clients. I sent a whole thing to Ethan the other day about this.
Totally.
Just a whole variety, it seems.
Yeah, of course. And some clients are so complex as well. Like, like one of my clients, for example, has intellectual disability, but he also has like a rare seizure disease, like syndrome, I suppose. And he's also had like trauma in his life. So it kind of comes together to produce a very like, he's so lovely, but he's also had like a violent past as well. So then we have to be really careful about how we engage with him, because he might escalate and then actually like physically assault us. So but then he's super lovely. It's just this, it's just not quite, it's sort of that mix of like intellectual disability and trauma. So I
guess it kind of goes to show that everyone's different, right? And disabilities can also be different. So there's no like one type, and it's not like you can always use the same methods with that you use for one person with another.
Yeah, and it sounds like your work is extremely, it's sometimes it can get really tough, but in some sense, like you said, sometimes it's really rewarding as well, especially when you get the chance to reflect back to yourself and your life. Now, you mentioned traveling. Now, viewers, I think it's kind of funny how she mentioned that, because like that's literally how we met, which is kind of funny. And we became friends when you were traveling to Vietnam. So I always had this like impression that you love the country so much, which is for me, someone like me who's very very well known for being very critical of the country. I was just kind of curious how was it for you? Like how Vietnam changed you in a way that's important to you specifically. And there's another question. Jacques is coming to Vietnam, and if you have any tips or some insights that you want to share him, we would love to hear it.
I'll try to think of some.
Sure. So
in the meantime, Ethan's a big pessimist of Vietnam. So like his description of Vietnam makes it seem like I'll be going to Vietnam in 6 weeks. And it makes it seem like I'm going to like this fiery dump. And it doesn't really make me very excited when he's like, oh yeah, Vietnam sucks. There's nothing to do in Vietnam. Everywhere else is so much better. I'm like, well, Ethan, like you have to sell it to me because I'm going to be going here, like to visit you for about a week. And if you make it seem that way, maybe I'll cancel my flight and go to some better country, like apparently Canada, which, Canada has its perks, but I don't think it's like the best country in the world.
Do it.
So yes.
Save yourself. Get out of here. I'm joking.
So I definitely said the same things to me. It's like, save yourself. Like, don't come here. What are you doing?
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead, Jessie.
But I'm planning. I don't know if I've said it yet, but I'm planning to go back next year for a few months. And Ethan's like, "What are you doing?"
Well, to be fair, I was just joking, but.
What do you think of Hanoi? Because I'm guessing you guys met in Hanoi, and Hanoi is supposed to be like a metropolis, massive place, lots of street food, and yeah.
I really liked Hanoi. I think, Hanoi. I think I don't know. It's difficult to. I find it's difficult to separate because Hanoi was the first place we went. We arrived in Hanoi and we were there for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. And so instantly I was like, I love this place. Like, I was like, this is so cool, and I also made connections there. So like when I got there, I started looking at different, like, because I'm also learning Vietnamese. So I started looking at like different like Vietnamese groups and, can I meet up with people? So like already I was like trying to make connections with people, and then obviously Ethan and I met, and so I was like, this place is super cool, like, and and there was other like really nice places. Like a lot of people really liked Hoi An. Like a lot of our tour group really liked Hoi An. It was cool. There's like lanterns and stuff everywhere. It was beautiful. It was a little bit busy at night, I found, though. It got like there was just like it was this nightlife, and the streets were flooded, and you just couldn't get around. I was like, this is so busy. But then, for example, like we didn't really spend that much time in Ho Chi Minh, but it was crazy. There were like 4 lanes of traffic each way. And lucky they had lights, because like Hanoi, you are just running across the road. Like crossing lights. You're not crossing pedestrian crossing. You are just getting across the road. So that was something different. But yeah, I don't know. I really connected with Hanoi, and we did like a bunch of tours. I'm so glad we did. But yeah, I did a bunch of tours and little like food tours and stuff, and that was fun. They able to like take you around and teach you about the history, or more about the culture. Show you different places to eat, show you what to eat. So that was fun. And
why do you choose Vietnam? Like a lot of people like to go to Japan or Thailand for their first kind of place in Asia, but Vietnam's not usually the first option.
I know. I feel like okay. So the long story or the short story?
Let's go long.
We could.
So, initially, my dad and I were going to go back to East Timor. So we went last year together, and we're going to go again this year. And we were kind of just like looking and planning and thinking, and we were looking at maybe instead we both separately were like, maybe I'll just go back to Spain, because I lived in Spain for a year. So like maybe we'll go to Spain instead of East Timor. And then something didn't line up with the holidays, or something about money or something. And my dad wanted to go at a different time, and I wanted to travel like right now, I was like, I have to, I can't not travel. I was like, I need a holiday. So I decided instead that I would go with my mum. And we were looking at New Zealand, and we were looking at Japan. There were 2 places that we both were interested in going.
I like Japan.
Yeah. I haven't been. I'd love to go.
He's half Japanese, so.
That's why.
I was kind of curious. So you mentioned that I think Vietnam wasn't on your first place on the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I know that's like you're coming back, so like there's something really important about Vietnam. So I was just kind of wondering, like in what way that's so important to you that you have to come back.
Well, I think the main thing for me is to learn Vietnamese, to be around it more often, to engage with it, to learn about the culture, to connect with people.
Yeah.
That's my main reason for being back. Yeah. And obviously, but
Yeah, there's that.
But yeah, the main thing. It's so funny, just to like side topic. It's just so funny to me sometimes when I think about it. I'm like, yeah, cool. Like I like not finally, but like, yeah, like I made a friend in Vietnam, but like you are the most like Western, and I'm like, we speak English. Like it's just really funny to me.
He's definitely different from your typical Vietnamese, and I don't know Vietnamese people. I've never been to Vietnam. I barely know anyone who is Vietnamese, but just looking at him and the way he acts, you can tell that he's not like the rest. He's very Western, as he said.
I'm a fraud. I'm a big lie.
Imposter. Are you going to go to Australia, Ethan, at
Me?
some point?
Me?
It's closer than Canada. Probably the tickets are cheaper.
Yeah, right. I was gonna ask, like, how long would it take you to fly from Brisbane to Hanoi, Chelsea?
It took us, I think it was like a 7-hour flight,
7
and then
hours.
maybe like 4-hour flight, 2-hour flight.
Okay, because like it took me like freaking 3 days to fly from here to
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Hey, it's PG. PG podcast. Child friendly. You have to blurb this out in post.
Oh yeah,
3-year-olds could be watching this.
Yeah. I never had a chance to introduce to Chelsea about what you do, Jacques. So he's currently a high school teacher in Shanghai. He teaches English, and he's a head of a jazz club sometimes.
No longer.
So yeah, that's what that was about. But anyway,
Have you guys played?
Yeah, we do.
Ethan can beat me easily at chess. But he plays it religiously. I play it like once every month, maybe once every 3 months. So it's not really a competition, unfortunately.
No.
I think I wouldn't play chess with him if I were you, Chelsea. It's a trick. He pretends to be goofy and funny, but really, he's an expert.
I'm picking up on that. As we slowly get along.
Or maybe
he likes to you know how in debate there's like the straw man tactic where you kind of present like this dummy and it's not very strong. He likes to do that. Like he hides dark horse kind of energy, hides his special skills, and presents this dumb, goofy character. But in reality, top 5 at his university.
I'm getting that vibe. I'm picking up on the vibe.
Maybe I'm just lonely. Like, have you ever thought of that? Like, maybe I just need friends.
He's lonely too. That goes without saying. He's lonely. There's many issues with him, in fact. Lonely, poor, bad luck, terrible luck. I could go on, but at the very least, he's smart. And he's very good at chess.
But also, surely can't be that lonely because you must have so many friends. Like, I've no idea.
He's very good at making friends, keeping them.
Oh.
As I said, I'm trying to kind of push this guy away. He just keeps coming back into my life. Hopefully, you'll have a better luck than me. Just joking, of course. But
I don't think her luck is getting better. She's coming over, so I'm never letting her go.
God,
it's a trap. It's so dumb.
The secret is block him. Block him as soon as you can. I know what to do, but I just feel pity. It's kind of like you look at this lonely soul. I just can't quite block him, but I know I really should. It's like those exes that you're like, I care about you a little, but this is getting too dark. Let's talk about happy things.
Because I have something to say. Have you seen Baby Reindeer?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just reminded me because I was in Baby Reindeer. This guy. He feels so bad for this lady that comes in and she's like stalking him and just like crazy stalker, like won't let him go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so strange. You're just wondering, like, as the thing goes on, you're like, what is going on in your brain? He keeps putting himself in these positions where like he's gotten away from something really toxic, but then he like feels really bad, or there's something that like draws him back. And when you were talking, like I feel pity. I'm like, that reminds me of like Baby Reindeer. There's like this like toxic thing that you're like, but I feel so bad.
I think of it like this, more like the saying, the cat comes back the very next day. It's kind of like you're throwing out this scraggy looking dirty cat. out the door, back the next day. So you drive off into like the wilderness, drop off the cat. Next 2 days later, you open the door, the cat's back. Next thing you know, you throw the cat in the ocean. Like, no way, this cat's coming back. It is just there on your doorstep. Kind of the same thing with Ethan.
Anyway, Vietnam.
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 Well,
A place, in your opinion? Vietnam's a cool place, in your opinion?
I think it's cool.
Mhm.
I think the thing that really stood out to me was the food. In Australia, I just feel like the food and the culture were the main things. I just feel like Australia for me, although, as I've gotten older, it's a great place to live. It is so boring. Like, there's nothing here. It's just, it's just like, I don't know.
I could say the same thing about Hanoi. It's so funny you say that. I think it's
Really?
like, yeah, like if you ask, sorry, yeah, okay, Jacques, I'll finish this point and you can go in.
Yeah.
Because like if you ask Jacques about Regina, I think he would say the same. Would you say the
The
same?
difference, though,
Mm-hmm.
is that Australia has a whole bunch of immigrants. Chinese,
Yeah, they do.
Taiwanese, all these people coming in and dropping off their food, creating their own restaurant. So I would have thought that you'd get a large variety. I would find the issue is cheapskates like Ethan and I. It would be very expensive, and in Vietnam it would be nice and cheap.
Yeah. Well, and like I don't know why I don't want to say this out loud, but that's like when you're asking about why we chose Vietnam, that was basically why. Like, we were at the travel agent and we were looking at Japan and we were looking at New Zealand and we're like, holy guacamole, like that's going to be a lot of money, child friendly. There's going to be a lot of money. And I was just like scrolling through, I don't know, this like tour website thing. And I was like, I just like said out loud, I was like, oh my gosh, Vietnam's cheap. It was like half price. And this tour thing was half price. And the tour guide was like, oh, like, do you want to go to Vietnam? Like, Vietnam's super cool. Like, and I was like, I've never thought about it. I don't even know where that is. Like, I've never thought about it. Never considered it.
Ouch.
What I like all I know, I'm like, I don't want to say this out loud, but like it's the honest truth.
It's true. It's why people go to Thailand too.
Well, my mum had heard of Thailand, and that's a place that she'd always sort of going, but literally I knew nothing else but like the Vietnam War. That was it. I was like, I don't know anything about any Vietnam food, Vietnamese food. Like, I don't know anything else. And I haven't said this to Ethan, so I'm like,
Don't worry, he doesn't judge you.
No.
But yeah, no, but that kind of makes it even more interesting when you don't know anything about it.
yeah,
I don't know anything about Vietnam either.
yeah, and so then we got there, and I was like, holy crap, this place is. I mean, I'm like, holy guacamole, this place is so cool. Like, there's so many things that are so different to like what we have in Australia. Like, I thought, I don't know the name in Vietnamese, but for example, near Ho Chi Minh, they have like the floating market, and you have like all the boats. So it's like a market, but it's literally on the water, and there's like all these boats floating around. And then we stopped. We like pulled our boat up next to like the coffee boat, and they like passed like coffees over, and then we went around, and then we pulled up and like tied ourselves onto a pineapple boat, hopped onto the boat, they cut up this pineapple, we ate it, and then we got back on our boat, and I was like, what is this place?
It's probably even better than Venice.
Oh, this is so cool. And then there was another, what else did we do? And then actually it was also in the south. I did really like the north, preferably, but also in the south they had they call them they called it hammock coffee. And there's so many different types of coffee as well. So cool. And in the South, they had like hammock coffee, and they literally have cafes full of hammocks, and then you get a coffee and you can just like go lay down in the hammock and hang out. And I was like, can we have this in Australia, please? Like, why are we sitting on chairs? What are we doing? Like, I was like this. It was like, I always found that every area you went to, there's always something new. It was never boring. And then especially like, because I have like a Vietnamese tutor and obviously chat to Ethan a lot, and there's always something new that comes up. Like you think you know like everything about Vietnam, and then someone's like, bam, here's this like other interesting thing about the culture. Here's this other, or like we didn't even apparently like we didn't even see any of like the rice paddies or the rice fields or anything. There is so much to discover. There's so many different things, and that's what I thought was just amazing. Just everywhere you went, you like turned a corner and you're like, there's something new here as well. And I'm like, I thought I knew everything, but how is there so much, So that's what was really cool.
I just love how excited you are. Like, I keep telling Chelsea every time that she mentioned of Vietnam. It's like it's like the only Westerner that I know that likes Vietnam more than I do. It's quite easy because I don't like Vietnam that much, but still, it's quite amazing.
You get it?
Oh, sorry.
You're getting me very excited. I'm starting to look forward for my trip. I'm just a little worried. Ethan is a bit of a cheapskate, so I might not get the cool boat treatment and the special coffee bars and all the rest. I think he's going to be taking me to like the park.
I think you might go to the Cool Kid Cafe. I've heard there's one.
Okay. Just pressure him to take me to the places you went, okay? Please. Because
I'll send you
I expect it. Okay. That would be great.
I'm glad you had a good time, Chelsea. For so many years I lost hope about this country, but you really ignite a fire in me. Anyway.
Oh.
Maybe it's just different perspectives. For the foreigners, it's like paradise. For the locals, it's like hell.
Well, honestly, that's something. If I may, I think that's something. When you're asking me about what I took from Vietnam or what that experience meant to me, I think it really, obviously a lot of things, but one of the things was that I realized so many people want to be here. Like, for example, in Australia, like lots of people are like, I just want to go to Australia, or I just want to go to this country, or I just want to go, like people feel that traveling to a different country will help them in some way, maybe have a better life or do, and they had so much complexity trying to do that. Like, I don't know, having to put down a certain amount of money or like needing to own a house, like proving that they would come back to Vietnam and not stay where they were going. And I don't know, I think that sort of perspective really made me think about my life and, sort of the fact that like lack of, I don't know, like not being able to do what someone wants to do, especially because everyone just wants to have a good life, right? Like everyone wants a thing for their life, but if you actually, and I have said this to Ethan before, like if you're held back by circumstance, I feel like that is really, there's just something that I felt, really like internal, like conflicted about.
Almost even seems unfair. It almost seems unfair. Like, so I was in Canada and then I came to China, and it's like $1 Canadian. Well, okay, 20 Canadian dollars can buy you a very, very nice meal in China. Whereas 20 Canadian dollars in Canada, you get like the bare minimum. And it's like, it's kind of unfair because you're thinking, I'm basically doing the same work as someone else, but my currency is worth more. My opportunities are greater. So yeah, I definitely understand that.
Yeah, I mean, like Ethan said that the other day. Like we were talking about that, and he's like, you do the same amount of work for like fucking. Oh, sorry.
No, don't worry.
So no worries. I'm just
he was being sarcastic. You can throw everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, I think it brought up some of the conversation that I had with Chelsea the other day. If you don't mind me sharing.
Yeah, sure.
She was talking about, sometimes she felt bad about, spending all this money because, like, to her it's just like nothing, right? Like to a lot of people here, that money worth a lot. And it almost feel like you're taking advantage of the situation, almost like.
That's yeah.
Yeah. And I understand your, where you're coming from, but again, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, in the same way, you're still contributing to the economy. You're still paying taxes. You're giving these hotels really, nice profit at the end of the month. So, I mean, it's life. As a Vietnamese, I don't think it's something that I feel very bad about.
As a Canadian.
Well, I do feel bad about it as a Canadian. Yeah, you're correct.
It's just not. Places aren't equal.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like when you live in your own little world, you just assume everyone has the same opportunities.
Yeah.
But when you do travel, you realize people truly aren't equal. And the life you're living is different from other people because you've had opportunities that others do not have.
Exactly. That's what I tell people, like all of my friends. And you were talking about Australia as being boring. Well, I would take a day living in Australia than 10 years in living here. You know what I mean? Like, you guys have it good. So
Yeah, I'm in China.
China's
good though. I like China.
What's it like?
What do you think it's like? Just out of curiosity. Do you know much about China?
Are you asking me specifically?
Both of you.
Josie, why don't you go first?
I feel like I feel like we don't have a good view of China. I think based on it being different political ideas, and I think that we view we're almost like we're told to view, or I don't know. Yeah, it's like that they are like kind of oppressive of like individual thought and stuff like that.
They suck.
Sorry. and so I don't think there's and I think like we've had some like Chinese exchange students, and I think we have lots of different cultural views maybe, and I think we do have a lot of different cultures that live here, but I don't think it means that we're like understanding of them. I think it just means that we like live amongst each other, but like for example, we all just kind of like are in our cliques. But I think that we are, I don't know, we're maybe, I don't know, I don't want to make any bold claims, but like I feel like we're maybe like guided to feel a certain way, like the media tells us to feel a certain way about like China or Chinese or different cultures, or to like benefit a certain, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I think I understand.
Yeah, I think that, so, like, for example, recently I've been watching, there's a guy on YouTube and he posts, I think he lives in New York or something like that, but he posts videos of him. He's like fluent in Chinese or Mandarin, I think. And he posts videos of him speaking to different people and stuff. And for example, they like in those videos, people like Chinese people seem really friendly. They seem really kind. They seem I don't know, or even like maybe like really clean as well. Like maybe I feel like we've always kind of viewed. I always thought like wearing masks was really strange until it was something that we did, and then it's like actually, yeah. So I don't know. I think, and
You,
yeah,
you
maybe
kind of
like
have a rough idea of what
culture.
China's like. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you seem to have kind of a rough idea of what China's like. There's like the political side, which is kind of negative,
Mm.
but also like it seems like the people in China are reasonable, down to earth, clean, that sort of stuff.
Be interested to know more about what it's like.
How about you, Ethan? What do you think? I
Okay.
think you're the problem.
Well, okay. If you're asking me that question, what I know about China, not a whole lot. Um, but I think it's a pretty first of all, it's powerful nation. You know, they
Mm.
have a lot of things going on for them: the economy, military, and their place in the world. You know, I feel like more and more they have influence a lot in every aspect of our lives in ways that we don't really think about. For example,
Mm.
like lots of our products are coming from China. Even like from cars to everything. Everything in my room is like 90% Chinese, which is okay. I can live with that. Um, and other than that, I don't know much. I've been to China though, and um, I you'll be surprised at like the amount of like similarity that we have between these two countries. The people, the way the food that we eat, um, and that's it. I can't say much. Being a Vietnamese is kind of a touchy topic to talk about, because this whole like this weird dynamic between the two countries for the last 2,000 years. So, in the back of my mind, I have, a certain way to look at them. Not in a very bad way, but it's like it's there. You just know it. Um,
Mhm.
but I figured the life in China would be the same in Vietnam or anywhere else. For example, Shanghai. Like it's advanced, it's crowded, lots of traffic, things like that. So yeah. Other than that, I have nothing much to add more.
Um, I'll try and make it short. So
Sure.
I came to China kind of similar to you guys. There was a lot of international students that I went to high school with and university with. So I kind of got a bit of an impression of what Chinese people were like. But I never planned to go to China. The job kind of just appeared, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I can go to China. Kind of like how you went to Vietnam. And, my expectations were a little negative because I had looked at the media and, you know, the Chinese at the time at least, the Chinese government and the Canadian government didn't really have the best of relationships, and there were some videos going around that definitely painted China in a bad light. When I got here, um, the people were very nice. Like there was this period where I don't know Chinese. I didn't know how to get to my hotel. I just happened to be kind of dropped off somewhere by people who were, supposed to give me orientation. And they assumed I could get back to my hotel, but I couldn't really, and I didn't have Wi-Fi. So I had to go around, and I had my hotel key card, and I had to just ask people, or just point, and then they'd kind of show me where to go. So right away, I found that the people were very nice. Now in China, things are different. Like there's of course poor people, especially these delivery people who deliver things. They aren't living the best of life, and there's things that are a little scary. So there's like video cameras everywhere, security guards for any complex or mall or anything like that. Security guards are everywhere. I think the idea is that they want to appear like everything is under control and everything is secure. But in reality, the security guards, they're kind of like any security guards at the mall. Like they're there, but after a while, you just kind of get used to them and they don't really interfere in any of your daily life. And in general, like you feel safe. Now I only have Shanghai as my frame of reference. I've been a little bit out of Shanghai, but not really. But yeah, it feels like any other country, and in fact, feels a little bit more futuristic than some places. Like products come very fast because they're built in China. So when you order something online, usually within 2 days it's shipped to you. Ordering food is really quick, and the subway system is like perfect. It's really advanced. So there's a lot of things that are advanced, but also there's cultural differences. One thing is that, for example, I think the Chinese mentality is if it's not working or if it's a problem, we just get rid of it and then we restart. So, for example, if a business isn't doing well or if isn't profiting, it's gone, and then a new one will come in and take its place. So there's definitely cultural differences that you kind of have to learn. But I think often we kind of attribute the government to the people, and the government doesn't always reflect the people or the city. And I think that's the main thing I learned. I learned that you can't base a place off of the actions of the government. I don't know much about the Chinese government, but it really does feel like I came from Canada and I don't feel like totally out of place in China. That's
cool.
my speech over. Long rant.
Um,
One thing is things are very cheap here.
yeah, we kind of got that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was certainly quite interesting. I don't think a lot of people actually have the chance to talk about China and know about China. We hear in the news a lot, but we don't actually know what it's like. So the fact that you're there right now and you get to have these experience, I think is really add to to you as a person. I think that's pretty cool. So all the best to you, Jacques. Oh, you were going to say something?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
One last thing, I guess I should preface this. Unfortunately, China isn't very tourist friendly, and it's not because of the people, it's not because of the government, it's kind of because of the payment system here. Because everything, as I said, is kind of futuristic, everything is paid through your phone, specifically WeChat. And you can get WeChat and Alipay as a foreigner, but it doesn't work quite the same as if you're a local. So the only reason it's difficult is just because paying for things is a little awkward because people don't use paper money anymore or even credit cards. So a lot of the time when you're a tourist, you're always buying things and it gets a little awkward that way.
So that's cool. I didn't really know much of that stuff, so it's really interesting.
Yeah, and I would say it's kind of similar to Hanoi as well, because like Chelsea, you've been here, travel with paying things. We do have a very advanced banking system, but that's just for the locals. If you're foreigners, you're kind of fucked. But exactly. So Jacques, you coming over? Bring your credit card, and hope for the best. Yeah.
I have two, Chinese and Canadian.
I don't think neither will work here, but Anyway, I think it's we've been going on for a while. I think we should wrap this up. We had a nice chat about with Chelsea. It's so lovely to have you on. We've been talking about this whole time. I hope you had a good time. What do you think?
About
the podcast,
Will you
Oh.
come on again?
You guys.
um,
Good.
yeah, yeah, it's really,
Um,
yeah. I'm glad, and it's really great to see you here, especially with Jacques. I mean, it's kind of strange to see the two of you at the same time because like I talk to the two of you a lot, but
Yeah.
separately, which is But anyway, Chelsea, all the best to you. I'll talk to you again very soon. Um, I think it's pretty late for you too. So thanks again, for hopping up. Tell your parents I said hi. Jacques, I'll see you next week.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess I'll see you next week, Ethan. Yeah, and I hope you have a good night's sleep. Nice meeting you, and all the best.
It was lovely to meet you.